Hello, Igor. Thank you for this day. It really renewed my faith. I have a question regarding my process. I'm having a very difficult year. It's very intense anywhere I go. So I've been trying to regulate this a bit, obviously, with going out into nature and, taking care of myself. But it's really, really intense. And I'm not quite sure how to deal with it anymore. It's really affecting my everyday life. So maybe you have some suggestions for that.
Well, first, let's give me a little bit more of how this intensity manifests and what is it, how it presents itself.
Sure, I get shooting up of energy, mainly into the head. I feel like there's a blockage there. The energy gets stuck a lot in the head. A lot of spinal issues, so a lot of physical issues, but I also get energy shooting out, mainly of here or the heart chakra, and it actually affects people around me, obviously. Sorry, I have to laugh a bit. Yeah, and I can see the reactions of people as well towards that energy. Sometimes it's very positive and sometimes not so great. Obviously, it's quite intense for other people as well. So I really would like for others also not to be so affected. I can see it's really disturbing sometimes. And I also get this intense light. I mean, I've had this when I was a kid. I remembered a few years ago. And sometimes I think, how can there be so much light? And I'm having this thing this year that I feel like there's so much love to give, and people around me are so dense, so heavy, and I feel really lonely in this mess of people, and it's really intense, this loneliness. I feel, on one hand, I feel so connected because I feel all these things, but people are so dense. It's really hard to exist in an everyday life.
I hear you. Well, you certainly have considered that everything is interconnected, right? So you understand that for every action there is a repercussion. So I'm glad that you came after all this time. And I've been told that you were considering coming earlier.
It just didn't work out because of the job.
So I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty of it. What's important is here and now. And all I can say to you is that it's in a way a blessing. Sometimes blessing can be display itself in a variety of ways which seems to be contradictory. But this, like this, is a blessing, you see? So aside, like I don't want to kind of do Santa Claus pulling things out of the hat this evening, no need for that. But the mere fact that you are here, right, is, and I trust the intentions this time around are based on what you have experienced and how you came about, is already what will take care of a lot of things, okay? Because that's how it works. Not because I want that, or it's not because it's simply there are certain things that are like that, unspoken laws. And because of the nature of the work, you see, the nature of the work as such, is whether we like it or not, because of that aspect of the Shakti. And some people, intelligent people, they do not understand that. You see, some people also understand that only partially. And I've witnessed that. And it is not for no reason that there is this something that steadfasts things here. And after all, the term kaula is a family. It's a sum total which is greater always than individual parts that makes it. And that also aspect of invisible thread that connects, and that's what makes Sangha into a Sangha, not just some kind of a term casually spoken. It means something, and it always means to the degree of how much one has connection, understanding, and plugged into that. You see? So that term, that Buddhist term, take refuge or refugee in Sangha, is not an empty term. There are many, many, many different levels to that. So so really things can align. And I said that many times, that homecoming is never easy anyway. It cannot be easy because the day and age we live in, right? So many aspects, so many tendencies we are up against here. So much. It's like these currents, we may want to merge, but these currents will break us down, wash us on the shore, completely. And the journey itself here, to be understood, not towards a destination also. This constant adjustment to that principle tenets. Then the first step is the last step. And everything else then is subject to certain accumulated karmas, these very tendencies that would have to play themselves out. And as they play themselves out, is to the degree of how willing we are in that, what already taking place, to fully and utterly corroborate, to be fully aligned. And the greater the alignment, the less friction there. The greater the alignment, the less there is against something that has to overcome something. So, but at the somatic level, at the level of relationships, experiences, body always will present itself with myriad of various issues and discomforts. But that to be worked with intelligently, right? This is also a balancing act, right? Not only balancing act is for everyone, regardless, right? Everyone. Ayurveda is the act of balance, right? All holistic systems of well-being are to balance. So at no point we just it's walking and in poise, in balance. Sometimes we just forget about that balance and oops, adjustment is coming because it's oop here, back into balance. But with awakening, with now the active life force and Shakti is now, then all this is magnified. Blessed are those for whom this is in such way that Shakti takes care of everything. There is this also a possibility that that in itself is the greatest redeemer, the greatest healer, the greatest caretaker. But not in our day and age, it seems. Tendencies begin to pull us. And for every tendency, it depends how far it pulls us off to the side, sidetracks us, or pulls us because the tendency propels to takes us back to kind of into that, where we want to seemingly reclaim what we feel is lost. And that is misunderstanding, of course. It's only a misunderstanding need to be constantly checked. That misunderstanding is, we're all prone to that. How many people, it's a constant, it's a proverbial. Awakening is treated as some kind of like, I don't know, like a child going through that sickness, kind of. And then I get better and go back to normal. It's not what awakening is. It's not. In any case, I like that how Stuart Savatsky, in that whole language of the transpersonal psychology, these guys in the Bay Area, these great pioneers, how they speak about that. Maturation of the soul. So awakening is coming fully into being human. How often we speak about it in this work. So being human is not just a given, it is a given, but also it's kind of like a fully to be embodied, yet to fully become that what is human being. So that's what really awakening is. It's not just some kind of temporal mishap, some kind of, so when that understanding is there, then that maturation of the soul, that coming into fullness of one's being, will be challenging because we live in day and age and time when we work out through our nervous system, through our neurophysiology. It's like a great processing system that processes so much stuff there. So this is why Tantra cannot be done alone in a way. Very few far in between can do it alone. And even then, they're not doing it alone. There are beings of light that support them. There are beings of light who hold them in their sleep, in their, they're constantly in their meditations. They are being literally held, safeguarded, you see? So, no man is an island, no woman is an island. So for you, this realization, is a very important one. So the mere fact of making this decision, and I trust it's thoroughly thought through, in itself will begin to reintegrate everything, you see? Reintegrate. As I said, there's no need to pull out rabbit out of the hat, although it's tempting. Rabbit, let's come here, But that's what it is. There's no magic, or rather, there's no trick. There's no trick. It works like that, you see? Because it's so plasmic, it's so fluid. It's working by the principle of great fluidity. Something adjusts in us and a layer opens up. Something that worked there as that, and there was this impediment, and suddenly, and it flows. And the whole system is then able to process. So the harmonization and equilibration of the process returns to its normal. And everything that signaled itself out, as I said, is a blessing in disguise, because worse things can happen. Worse things can happen. And I've seen that, how people think that they can take something precious and run away because they feel that that's what it is about. It's not good at all. Seeing it like just essentially let, whatever that is, whatever that power, save them, safeguard them. Because great harm can be done, already done, to themselves and to others. And of course, because of the nature of this sort of like, because things are here done in a different way, a lot of intelligence is required. In the days when men and women in saffron robes, white robes, or black robes, when they came, there was this air of authority carried, because they all were holders of lineages. And in the West, there was more innocence. Anyway, you know, our parents were more innocent people. Whether we like it or not, they were more innocent. Let's face it. You know, they're the ones who are doing this as a general blanket, passing kind of observation in retrospect. Those, when they were in their 20s, you know, how they embraced that whole counterculture movement, how they went for it. You know, I lived in Primrose Hill in London, and the lady who was my neighbor, when she learned that, you know, I'm in the midst of process and this and that, and once she invited me for a tea. So I go on the way up, I was on the ground floor, and she was all the way up. And yeah, I actually met Maharishi, yeah, here in Primrose Hill. This whole Primrose Hill were hundreds of people. It was mass initiations. You know, the whole hill was covered as if in a festival. We were sitting, and you know, people were so much more willing to embrace, open up, but there was also this, one way or another, right, despite of that counterculture movement, like, you know, kids of the Beatles, the hippie, you know, the hard rock, the heavy metal, the punk, you know, they still had great respect to those who carried these messages, you know. Allen Ginsberg shaved his greatest asset, his beard, when Chogyam Trungpa told him to do that on the way as he was walking to see him. He said, "Oh, it's you, yeah, you want to come to see me? Well, shave this beard." Allen Ginsberg was already an icon of American culture. And iconography of Allen Ginsberg was, a beard was part of that iconography. You see? So in other words, he hit him in the weakest spot. You see me here, listen, why don't you shave? He thought it's a joke. Are you kidding me? No, why am I kidding you? I'm cleanly shaved, why are you coming here with a beard? The choice. He did shave his beard. He could have said, sod you, who the heck you are, you know? And this is what I had a lot in my job. A lot of that, you see? It's not easy to do this work. Because, you know, like, this is not a rope. Abby made it for me from California. We designed it together. See? Important things were possible because there was certain air of authority that was carried. You see, this is why I said saffron robes, white robes, these robes. But the same work is carried. Actually, maybe in some cases taken on to the next logical level of its unfoldment. But this work is still done in the mud, you know, in the mud, with sleeves rolled up to here, you know, still doing it as in the days when, you know, and never ever I asked for anything except for understanding of what this is. You see? When there is understanding, that tremendous things can be done. Tremendous things. And then when there's a lack of understanding, what happens is that a lot of mess can be done. That's all. So this is why I said it's a blessing in a way. Because those who have left with slamming the door and, you know, kind of, you know, they doing right now harm to themselves. And it takes a lot to come back. It takes a lot to come back, you know, acknowledgement. You know, as long as it's propped by right intentions, then it's like a quicksilver. It quickly rearranges itself. and the process aligns, adjusts. I don't want to frighten anyone here, but in Tantra there is understanding that if by whatever strike of fortune or grace one is allies themselves with the teacher, it's for life, even if they don't want it. And it's not because, it's because of the Shakti principle here at work. This is why the people never think, like people have to think twice before they do what they do. You see? Because teacher doesn't have choice, student has. And this is what makes it different. Teacher doesn't have a choice, but student does have choice. And that choice has to be exercised. You see? So as far as I'm concerned, you're good. Everything is a past, and we don't worry about the past. What matters is the present, what unfolds right now, right here. Okay?
Thank you.